Yes. So in the last week I got a couple of parcels with some awesome bots inside, and naturally I plan on reviewing all of them, but I think it'll be better to do it one at a time just to make it easy on myself. Okay? Okay. Thus, thanks to no actual demand whatsoever, I decided to talk about this big purple bell end. Ladies and gents, please give a hearty yes for Kingdom Leader Class Beast Mode Megatron. Now, with Kingdom bringing back the Beast era vibes, it only makes sense that they do a new version of the Tyrannic King himself. Beast Wars Megatron is basically worshipped in almost every circle of the greater Transformers fandom. Some of that might be because of the simple killer charm of the original toy. A good chunk of it will definitely be because of his role in the cartoon, voiced as he is by the charismatic and unparalleled embodiment of awesomeness that is David K. Either way, Beastie Boys Max has rightfully earned his place in the hearts of many, and as such isn't exactly hurting for much. But onto the matter at hand, here we have him in his Barney the Dinosaur mode. All things considered, then, there's not really anything particularly special. It's basically your standard run-of-the-mill pre-feathered T-Rex. I mean, it's certainly recognizable as Megatron. The Quality Street Purple and the Chocolate Lime Green are a dead giveaway. And the head of the beast is straight savage with the animalistic dread scowl and the signature red eyes. If nothing else, he certainly looks like he wants to chomp you down while laughing maniacally. But otherwise, it's just a dinosaur, innit? Like, it has all the details you expect from a plastic toy dino. From the big head snarling out the front with the dangling baby hands, to the thick thunder lizard thighs, to the pointed tail sticking out the bum end like an ass dagger. And there is no getting over the inherent coolness of just a T-Rex, especially one that turns into a big purple robot. But the only other thing about this beast mode that's unique is the plastic that's used. Most of the body is this soft, pliable material that I guess is supposed to add some form of organic realism. And I certainly won't argue that it kind of works, but I'm also worried that it could slowly degrade over time and leave him more like a plasticized fossil. You can also put him into some decent poses, which is a rarity in and of itself for a beast former. You can move the head from side to side, and the panels on the neck are spring-loaded so you can keep the molding consistent. It's simple, but also appreciated. And the thighs are on these semicircle rails that help the thighs move back and forth for better range. You can even use the ankle joints from the robot mode to give it a bit more of a stable base if you want to. And what would a toy dino be without a little bit of an ass wag? Reeks of sass. So while Mr. Beef Rexington is a bit by the book, he still pulls it off with a little bit of class. And there is no way you can resist the idea of a purple robot T-Rex with the voice of Clank. You'd have to be made of stone not to love it. Now let's get to the good bit. Megatron! Terrorize! So transformation is... it's Beast Wars Megatron. How do you think it transforms? Exactly. Dino legs become robot legs, heads and ass become the arms. Then you pop out the head and just jam everything on the back and then pretend it's not actually there. Everyone's done this before is all I'm saying. Though on the tail, these panels are made of a soft plastic, so, you know, be careful. But the result itself, not gonna lie, it's pretty bloody spectacular. Like, whether you prefer one Megatron over the other, there's no way you're gonna forget about this one. He just has that iconic villain design you can't mistake for anyone else. And as batshit crazy as it is, it kind of makes sense in a bizarre way. Like, of course he'll be wearing Tyranno knee-highs. Why wouldn't he replace his entire right arm with the head of a T-Rex and then just slap the tail on the other one? It just wouldn't be Megatron without it. But if you were to look at it with just the tiniest bit of detachment, you can kind of see why it was a hard sell at first. The whole Beast Wars line was just such a drastic change from the traditionally blocky robotic aesthetic of the old days. I mean, just look at this. This also gives the impression that he's just an underling that Skeletor has lying around, just mopping up the place while they go invade Castle Grayskull. It's definitely a toy first, and it knows it. And I think what really sells the whole idea are his weirdly questionable arms. Again, the entire right arm is basically subsumed by the head and neck of a T-Rex, which must make it tricky when it's trying to do basic day-to-day handiwork and playing with a rubber duck. I mean, I do love it. It is pretty cool how just opening the bottom drawer gives the top one open to reveal this blast port, but it just throws a lot of light on how weird and out there the toy line got for a while. And bizarrely enough, it's not really that much stranger than the other arm. I mean, it's pretty normal first, but then it just explodes out the elbow into this tail-claw combo. I mean, at least in the original toy, it had that whole spring-loading grabby claw gimmick. But this one just looks more like a finger puppet with a slightly phallic nose and an insane overbite. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I love it when an action figure just gets a little bit wacky. But I'm still allowed to point out just how bloody weird it is. And if that wasn't weird enough, the hand just hinges up out of the tail for some broken wrist action? Why? So I guess objectively speaking, this is a bonkers design, but emotionally, this is my kind of nonsense. I mean, just look at these legs if you weren't already. It would have been one thing if it just did the T-Rex feet as his actual feet, but then it went all out and gave him the whole pair of dino trousers for the lower third of his body. And then you come to the nicely sculpted thighs to find these hip-mounted blasters. It may not be as comically big as the original toy or show model, but it's still a great vocal point for the design that makes you appreciate what little mechanical detail he does have. You even get that in the chest, what with these faux vent leg pieces and these fake out teeth popping out of the collarbone, which naturally leads us to the head with his uncharacteristic scowl set on an eggplant flavored mush. And I've only recently realized that he kind of has a little goatee, which makes me love the hip sculpt even more. And if you look close enough, you can make out the Predacon logo embossed on his forehead like some weird ganglang tattoo. That is pure conviction. Shame about the lack of light piping, but I think I'll live. And being an actual leader class toy and not a Voyager figure with a bunch of armor bits to jack up the price, Shockwave, he certainly has the posing necessary to lead his conquest. Like, you can't really wobble the ball-jointed head as much as I would want, but he's still have plenty of swivels and hinges in the arms alone, on top of crazy Van Damme splits and forward and backwards motion in the hips. Though I do think the ankle joint could do with being a little less stiff, and the shoulders can only rotate so far before they start clashing with everything else behind them. And of course, we have to address how basically the entire mass of the Dino mode is resting on his back like some Shogun wartime flags. There is no way you can ignore how brazenly in your face this kibble is. Like, the arms are barely hidden inside of these massive crevasses made from his entire belly. The back of the Dino neck just juts out like it's no big deal. Even his thighs get on this with how they basically just dangle down the back like a pair of discount rucksacks you get out of Primark. It just does not care about how much he's carrying around. And you know it will always be there with nothing to do but hang off the back like a dingus. But is this really a new phenomenon for Beast Wars Megatron? No, not really. Like, I don't have any other toy of this character, either because they're really hard to find or they're stupid expensive. But for just the reviews and images I've seen, Megatron carrying his whole old mode around like a travel bag really isn't anything new. The original toy couldn't escape it, the animation model couldn't escape it, even the pretentiously monikered Masterpiece one still had a bunch of ugly ass dino kibble sticking off the back. So is it really worth complaining about this much kibble in 2021? A little, I guess. But as far as I'm concerned, all of this is basically as traditional as the Dino Head and the Hip Blasters. It's like Optimus with the mouth plate, or Starscream with the null rays, or Soundwave with the tape deck chest piece. It's a part of his identity, and you can't possibly complain about it. Is that alright with you? And that's pretty much all there is to him. I might not be as infused about this guy as I was with Cyclonus, but I think a lot of that could just be boiled down to expectations more so than anything else. I mean, with Cyclonus, there's no way you could have predicted the kind of mind-boggling engineering they could pull off with just a Voyager figure. But with Megatron, I basically knew he would be the original toy, but with a posability update. And that's exactly what he is. But does that necessarily make him a bad toy? Hell no. He packs just as much personality and gravitas as any other iteration of Megatron, even if he is a bit messy. But honestly, that inherent messiness just makes it so much more fun to play with. And if nothing else, the character just dominates and helps me overlook all the issues I have with him. So of course I'm recommending him. Especially for people like me who could have spent $300 on a Masterpiece one whose crush breaks down. So thanks to you guys for watching, and major thanks to the fact I have now 20 subscribers on YouTube. I do not deserve you. But until next time, because there always will be one, this is Callum Lewis, the Media Hood, signing off.